Hey, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Do me a favor, when we're done with the James Show and you go out into the real world and talk to people because you have a life and friends and family and whatnot, tell someone about the James Show. Help me grow this thing, because the faster I can grow this thing, the faster I can get higher ratings, I can get some sleep around here, because until I'm number one, I'm going to worry about the ratings. And I live by the Ricky Bobby rule that if you ain't first, you're last. And right now, I'm last. So let's do something about that. Maybe if I'm reincarnated as a more responsible person in the next life, I would be an economist or an economics professor. I'm too much of a show busy type slob to do that now. But boy, I find this stuff so interesting. I've come to the conclusion now that half of our problems as a society would be solved if we just implemented proper economic thought. If we just taught proper economics in schools, half of this stuff would fix itself within a generation. Not everything. It doesn't solve, like the abortion debate, but it does solve some of these other debates that you don't even feel like they're economic, but they are. One story that makes me feel like this. I see the headline that there's a restaurant chain that's shutting down 48 locations in California. Oh, really? That's just 2 months after they made the minimum wage $20? Yeah, that's just a coincidence. Now, you've never heard of this chain. It's called Rubio's, and it's like a Mexican fusion something or other. But they're closing 48 of their locations only in California. Some of the California locations are going to stay open, but just a handful. And then there's 86 other locations that are spread out across Nevada and Arizona. It's just a West Coast regional chain. But that's about a third of the chain. 48 locations in California, which means, you're told that if we raise the minimum wage, then all these people are going to make more money. Well, some people will make more money. These people are going to make zero. They're not going to get a raise. They're going to get a pay cut. Now, there are people, but when this was proposed, who warned about such things. And then there was other people who supported this proposal who told them they were wrong. Well, now we know who's wrong and who isn't. And look, we don't have to play this guessing game where we have projections or we have computer models or whatnot. We need to just start putting triggers into these laws. Like in the Inflation Reduction Act that passed a couple of years ago. All you had to do is say, hey, if inflation doesn't get down below 2%, then this whole act is repealed and everyone who voted for it can't run for office again. No one would ever do that because that's accountability. They are going to make horrible economic decisions if they are not going to get punished for it. And by they, I mean the representatives in the state legislatures that voted for this. What negative consequences is being visited upon the people that supported this 20-hour minimum wage? See, the small people at the bottom, the poor people, the people that they claim to be helping, they're the ones suffering. But all the representatives got to keep their job, got to keep their big paychecks, their 6 figures coming in. See, they get to take all the credit. But the people that they say they're helping are actually suffering. But people still support this. Of course, it's a terrible idea. And economic ideas are so easy to prove or disprove. Even if we didn't have California to implement this, you could talk someone through, okay, if raising their wage to 20 hours has no effect on whether or not they're employed or the number of people that can be employed in such an endeavor, why not raise it to $100 an hour? Why are you being such a piker? Why not make it $1 million an hour? Oh, well, the company couldn't afford that. Okay. So now you admit that there's a ceiling to how much you can raise wages without there being any negative consequences, and you think it's somewhere above 20. I think it's below. Turns out you were wrong. I was right. This happens again. Another story. It's on foxbusiness.com right now. Dollar General is having to deal with their number one problem in Dollar General's quarterly report is what's called shrinkage. You know what shrinking is in the retail world? That's an industry term for stolen merchandise. So the company is going to close some stores. They're going to take out self-serve kiosk and checkout lanes on other stores. And they're going to convert some of them into where you have a little bit of help. It's assisted checkout, which really they're going to have an employee watch to make sure you don't rob them blind while you're checking themselves out. And so that's been a delicate economic balance that we've watched. You raise the cost to employ people, companies are going to adjust. They're going to add more self-checkout lanes. That created another problem of more theft. So now we're having to watch them deal with it instead of just being economically sound to begin with. And this is another situation like the guest I had earlier. I bet you this is geographically concentrated in certain areas and an almost unheard of phenomenon in other areas. You go to a Dollar General or you go to a CVS or you go to Walgreens here in the big city, especially if you go to a rougher neighborhood like where I first had to get an apartment when I moved to Dallas for the first time. It's all I could afford. I had to live in a terrible part of town. I couldn't believe how much stuff was locked up at the drugstore. Drive an hour and a half in any direction and nothing is locked up at the drugstore or at Dollar General or Family Dollar or Dollar Tree. So many of the answers to what ails us could be found in economics. But that's going to do it for the James Show today. Coming up next, stick around. Mark Levin is coming up after the news break. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.